Hello, thank you for joining me today. My name is Del Ellis. I'm the President and CEO of Del Ellis Sales Training International and the author of How to Sell Like a Carnivore. Now, a carnivore salesperson is a person that is fearless. You're going to have to become fearless in selling. Ask those questions that you didn't want to ask before because you're thinking, well, you know what, if I ask this question, they're going to get upset at me and I'm going to lose the sale. Well, hey, you're losing the sale anyway. I have a good friend, his name's Jeffrey. He told me about a sale that he was going to lose. This guy calls him up, says, hey, Jeff, I'm going to cancel my life insurance policy. And he goes, well, does your wife know about this? And he said, well, no, he doesn't, but I'll tell her. So Jeff gets off the phone. He writes out an addressed envelope and sends it to the lady. And she calls up the next day and says, hey, Jeff, I got this envelope from you. And there was nothing in it. And then he goes, well, that's because last night your husband canceled his life insurance policy. And if he would have died, that's what you would have got. I go, Jeff, seriously, you asked that question? He goes, Del, I had nothing to lose. Well, later on that day, guess who showed up with the check? So you're going to have to become fearless. The second thing is you're going to have to be passionate about who you are, where you work, and the product and services that you have to offer. The next thing I recommend is you're going to have to hate losing more than you love winning. Everybody loves to win, but when you get to the point where you hate losing more than you love winning, you'll do what it takes to succeed. And you won't take no for an answer. You're going to have to fall in love with no's. Okay, in selling, get used to it. They're not rejecting you, it's your product or services. And chances are it's probably your fault because you haven't built enough value to justify them investing their hard-earned cash. Okay, the next thing is you're going to have a strong desire. You're going to have to be determined to become the best of the best. And the only way you're going to be able to do this is by memorizing as many techniques and methods as possible and making them you and then employing them. If you have it and you don't use it, it's not going to get you anywhere. So let's get started on how to handle the objection. It costs too much, okay? Now I'm going to go over the rules. Number one, whenever they give you objection, always agree with them. Number two, you're going to have to learn how to use touchdown questions. Number three, you're going to need to find out how much too much it is by asking open-ended questions. Number four, we never ever want to focus on the entire amount, just the difference, okay? Number five, we want to belittle the difference because if it's big in your mind, it'll be big in their mind. Of course, we never want to sell anybody based on the size of our wallet. And if you learn this rule, which I'll call rule number 6 or the golden rule, if you learn this rule, your wallet will become bigger. Number 7, we're going to have to turn their objection into a final objection because if you don't, it'll come into, can they ask more questions than you can answer, or can you answer more questions than they can ask? Believe me, that's a game you don't want to get involved in. And then the last thing we want to do is reduce it to the ridiculous and then close the sale. So let's get started. So they say it costs too much. You just simply, of course it does. You always want to agree with them. Always agree with them. Never argue, never fight. You might win the argument, you might win the fight, but you'll lose the sale, and that's not why we're here, is it? Okay, now, I want to employ touchdown questions. These are designed that 99% of the time your potential client's going to say yes to. You're going to have to learn these. Now, I'm going to use some of these today. I'm not going to get into teaching these days, but perhaps at another time. Okay, so let's keep going. Isn't it true that whenever you bought something this nice, it was always more than what you anticipated? Now, most people are going to say yes. However, I did have the 1% tell me, well, no, not always. Now, in selling, whenever you get in trouble, ask a question. Well, so here's the question. Would you mind sharing me when it didn't? Real simple question. You mind sharing me when it didn't cost more? It's an open-ended question. Now, open-ended questions are questions that are designed that requires a thinking response. It's not a yes or no question. It's, hey, they have to think about it, then they're going to have to explain it. Okay, so let's keep going. Now, we need to find out how much too much it is. Now, in selling, you're going to have to use tone inflection. It's not what you ask, it's how that you ask that's more important. Just like it's not what they say, it's what they mean that counts. So if I said, do you mind telling me how much too much it is? Okay, versus, Do you mind sharing with me how much too much that you feel that it really is? See the difference in the question and see the power of changing the tone of my voice. So let's keep going. They say $50,000. They're looking to buy a house, or they're looking to buy anything, and it's $50,000. I'm just going to use a house or real estate for your realtors out there. But you can take the same technique, the same method, and apply it to anything. So here's how we're going to do it. First of all, we only want to focus on the difference. Second of all, we want to belittle the difference. And believe me, when I reduce it down to ridiculous, it's really going to belittle it. And then, of course, we're never going to sell based on the size of our wallet, and because we found out if we don't, our wallet will get bigger. And then we want to turn their objection into the final objection. Of course, then we're going to reduce it to the ridiculous and close the sale. So let's keep going. You mean if it wasn't for this $50K thing, you love everything I've shown you so far? Powerful, powerful. Now, I'm using $50K thing to belittle it. You mean if it wasn't for this $50K thing, you love everything I've showed you so far? Okay, now I'm going to ask another question. You mind sharing with me what you like most about what I've showed you so far? Now, the reason why I want to ask that question is because now they start selling themselves. And then when they're doing that, I'm taking mental notes going, hey, this is how I'm going to come back on this thing. Okay, so we'll keep going. So we're going to reduce it to the ridiculous. I mean, if it wasn't for this $50K thing, you love everything I showed you so far. Isn't that right? Tell me, what do you love the most? They say, well, I like the pool, I like the front yard, the landscaping. Okay, so now how do we handle that? So what I recommend you do, seeing is believing. You've probably heard that before. We take a calculator, we hand them the calculator. Okay? This gets them physically involved. Okay? To make a sale, you got to get them mentally, emotionally, physically, backed up by a logic involved. So this is what we're going for at this point. Okay? So, you mean if it wasn't for this $50K thing, you'd see no other reason why we couldn't move forward today, isn't that right? I'm using a touchdown question there. They say yes. Go hand them the calculator. Now, if we take this $50K and divide it by 30 years, isn't that about $1,666 a year? Isn't that right? Touchdown question. They say yes. Okay, now if we take 50, and isn't it true there's 52 weeks in a year? Of course there is. Now if we take the 52 and divide it by the 1666, isn't that about $32 a week? See, I'm using my touchdown questions. And of course we have 7 days in a week, and if we take the $32, isn't it about $457 a day? Based on the fact that you own the house 24 hours a day, and we take the 24 hours and divide it into 457, isn't it about 19 cents an hour? Tell me, for 19 cents an hour, isn't it worth to have the nice pool, the nice landscaping, the beautiful this, the beautiful that? Tell me, would you pay 19 cents for that, sir? It just makes sense, doesn't it? And then I use a touchdown question to close the sale. Now, whenever you ask a question in selling, always remain silent, especially a closing question, okay? So, let's summarize what we did today. Okay? Number one, we hear an objection. Rule number one, we always agree with them. Rule number two, we're going to have to learn how to use touchdown questions. These are game changers. Okay, rule number three, we got to find out how much too much it is. We never want to focus on the entire amount, only the difference. Rule number five, we want to belittle the difference. Rule number six, we want to never sell in the size of your wallet, and then your wallet will get bigger. We want to turn their objection into a final objection, and then of course we want to reduce the ridiculous and close the sale. Now I need your help. If this has been helpful for you, can you please either thumbs up it or write a comment? And more importantly, it would help me if you'd share it with a friend. The more that it gets out there, the more people like it, the more stuff I'll give you and keep everything going, and everybody will be happy making more money, and that's what we want, isn't that right? Okay, my contact information, www.delellis.com, or you can email me at delellis1@hotmail.com. Those that want to call me, 559-259-2932. It's 559-259-2932. And one last thing, I want everybody to understand winners aren't born, they're made. And my job is to make winners and carnivore salespeople out of all you. Have a wonderful time and good luck in your selling career. Thank you.